Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever it is you are in the world, and welcome to another edition of the Living World of Darkness, Rage Across New York. We find ourselves on the cusp of battle. Across the sept, everyone can feel it. The tension is rising in the air. Allies from various realms have gathered. The umbral scape of the Sept of the Green itself is now filled with the large stature of a colossal nature that sits and guards over the sept as it waits to assist them in their campaign against the Storm Eater. Various tribes have lent their aid. Uktena and Wendigo individuals wait, poised to strike back at the creatures that took their home from them. A little bit more literally than figuratively, but I digress. This scene's with eeny, meeny, miny, mo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One, two, three. It starts with Xavier. We start with Xavier as he's sitting within the sept, going over daily lessons and various tomes that have been given to him for him to read, as a Galliard must know things, must know many things. Today, scrolls handed to him by the Stargazers speak of philosophy, of the events happening in the Eastern Garu's happenings, mention of the Jade Courts and the Beast Courts, always fleeting in the amount of information they give. As he sits there and goes through each and every individual scroll, trying to commit what he can to memory, sitting in the very near Torellian realm, he will hear a slight whisper off behind him. And if you would, Xavier, please roll me a perception and alertness check, difficulty 8.
All right.
Oh, no. Okay. You hear a whisper, but when you look, you see nothing. A certain kinfolk who is set for whatever reason she chooses. Perhaps she is looking for her sister. Perhaps she is taking up a help around with the other keepers. Who's to say, really? But she's here. And she too will hear a small whisper behind her.
Let me guess. Should I be rolling dice?
Yes.
Let's see. Wow, it's a power roll. But I hear something.
You not only hear something, but you notice there's something sort of floating around you. And it takes a moment to get a track of what it is, to see it for what it is. But it soon becomes a bit more apparent. It's like a little sprite floating around, made of wood, that fades in and out of sight every time it moves. And only when it makes a vigorous movement does it become even apparent to you, your well-trained eye, it would seem.
All one die of that. Stop and just watch it. Like, does it seem to be going anywhere?
Circling you, zipping back and forth, just at about eye level. You hear it making its
Turn so my ear is near it and hold my hand out at the same time so if it wants to land it can, but try to catch what it's saying.
The whispers make no sense to you. And without spirit speech, they won't.
Okay.
hand out, it does land, and you can feel a slight weight to it. It feels about as heavy as maybe, a small paper cup with about half full with water. So it has some substantial weight to it, but still light.
Wow.
Its little feet, though, its little teeny tiny feet, do leave a slight tingle in your hand, akin to perhaps if you've ever felt any of the Guru experience on something or been near that and perceived it even so slight. Perhaps the...
Can I roll awareness?
Yeah.
That seems appropriate with what you're describing.
Keep...
It's not so much kinfolk necessarily as sorcerer. 1. I don't know if kinfolk have it.
It feels a touch mystical. It has that tingle to it.
Just kind of look at it, and then look around quickly to see if there's anyone else around that I know. I'm assuming Xavier, since we just went over this.
Perhaps. But the little creature zips off towards the center of the park, only stopping to see if you're still following.
Follow it.
We then come to Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Katori.
Yes.
Katori of your head, crawling along the scruff of your neck and in your thick fur.
Hmm?
And then finally, as something comes over the crown of your head, one of these little spirits, as it's you, perhaps revealing itself to you because of, well, what auspices are.
Really? So I see him. Well, I'm going to try and speak to him. Ask Katori, take a playful stance, and hello, little guy.
Little dances and spins around before walking to the edge of your to look you directly in the eye. Follow. And then zips off towards the center of the set.
He just runs after it.
Off like chasing a squirrel. We come to Smiles in the Night and Antonio, who are oddly near each other for some reason.
Not murder, we promise.
Either way, each one of you make me your perception and alertness or primal urge if you happen to be in lupus.
Yeah, good thing.
2 successes.
2 successes.
I will tell you. None!
So Antonio notices nothing, but as any good lupus would be more observant than some lowly ape bonar.
Hey!
You notice one of the little spirits from the glade, which seems to be dancing around on the a low-laying branch of a pine tree.
Smiles will approach the spirit, looking at it very clearly and intently through the swirl of night spirits that surround him whenever he is in the Umbra. And though he lacks the gift of speech, he will try and indicate to the spirit to lead or what does it want, and take him to where he needs to go.
And in the pine needles, and this is in the Torellian realm, by the way, so the spirit has chosen to materialize itself in the Gaian realm.
Right.
it spins about on the pine needles, creating sort of a spiral as it sort of jumps up excitedly, and it lands on your nose, deftly, and looks at you as its little glyphs on its on its face, or that make up its face, glow before it flits off and flies across the air, knocking Antonio on the back of the head before shaking its own little head as it backs away slightly, and then speeds off past him towards the center of the sept.
What? Andre will just start following him.
Smiles. He's getting his senses from something being thrown at the back of his head. This little spirit run past, and then the black shape of Smiles running past.
Antonio.
On, we come to the workshop in the tree houses. Zeke is plodding away, doing his various projects that he works on, somehow still not being picked out by the stargazers, who are still at a loss at the smell of a distillery in their treehouse, but they seem to make do, or at least make certain certain omissions in their normal treatment of etiquette in this case. However, as Zeke is currently at his workbench, he'll start to hear the sounds of glass crashing along the floor behind him, and he'll smell the strong scent of moonshine suddenly exposed to the world.
Zeke will stop where he's hammering on a piece of metal on his anvil and turn around side of the still to see what's falling off the wall there and why.
Perception and alertness roll, please.
One.
You notice a little spirits walking along and kicking the bottles of moonshine one by one.
Run over there. Hey, what you doing? What's going on? Trying to catch bottles as they fall. Looking very Keystone Cops in his attempts.
A dexterity athletics roll. Make me at least successes, in which it knocks off in quick succession.
No, I got
Two. So you manage to jump forward and catch 2 bottles of, well, not your top shelf line, but some of your mason jars.
Cali Zuzo. Oh, I gotta make it again.
He'll jump down onto the brim of his hat and lean over the edge of it, looking at him. And it,
Well,
speaking in a
Hassan,
language that he can't understand.
What do you want, little buddy?
It jumps down onto the windowsill and then flies out the window, heading towards the center of the sept.
Damn well again, didn't he, Lassie? Zeke will walk out the door trying to keep his... but then head on after it.
As we come to our last 2, Bright Eyes and Kachino, who are sitting not too far from Xavier, actually, will notice a cacophony of little whispers. Those that have spirit speech can hear words, follow, follow, follow. The sounds of other individuals of full size can be heard trotting along towards the area as, 1, 2, 3, 4 of these little spirits come in from different...
Hearing these spirits whispering, Kachino will stop polishing the tiny little jade that he's got granted from his brothers up north that he's going to use for a project, and puts them in a little chinchilla skin that he has and ties it up with a little leather thong and starts walking towards them. Whatever the spirits want when they say follow, he's going and doing it.
Yeah, when Kachino does all this, Briar's just gonna watch him, thinking, "Why? Why so many things?" And then just stand up and start slouching off after the spirits, listening to to them saying, "Follow, follow," but and quietly whispering back, "We are doing, we are doing, we are doing."
The four spirits converge together, bringing with them Smiles in the Night and Antonio, Ray, Leah, and Zeke, as they all seem to arrive.
And Katori will look at this thing. It tries to act like a lupus.
And Lupus Antonio looks at a dog in your life.
Oh.
When Antonio starts barking, Smiles will fully turn around and start snarling in his face.
Antonio will go two-legged and go doggy steps back like.
Zeke will come walking up wearing overalls. Damn hell's going on with these things?
That's a good question. She stands staring in front of her.
Well, because it's not like I should have thought about this before. I mean, spirit. I ran out of it. Yes.
The disciple of Kachina.
What would be the difficulty to identify those ones?
Difficulty 7.
Okay. And spirit lore. Where is it?
I'll be sorely disappointed, Katori.
Well, I have only 2 because I worm lore. Please, yes, those thing. He knows. He is aware of thing.
You have never really gotten much more than a few passing stories about spirits of ancient glades, places that exist in the peninsula that are still as pure as they were in the time before the Impurging. Glades are well protected, well hidden, and they have certain rules that must be followed at all times when entering them. It is said that the great spirits that live there of common everyday plants and animals are gigantic as they were in times past. These spirits are the heralds of one such place. Those that went to the glade not too long ago to receive the oracle's prophecy will recognize them as the little spirits that were dancing around in all places within the glade.
Oh no. Hell no.
Well, and, next question, like what they are, he's saying, and Leah must probably hear something like.
Oh.
Thing there.
Haven't
Yeah, off in penumbra.
Speaking to Leah, I'd like everybody to make me a perception and alertness roll except for her.
Oh,
Sure,
fucking
there you
hate.
go.
awesome.
Die. We're all about to die.
You guys,
Skyworm.
Like, no.
See?
Just a standard diff. Katori don't lupus.
Yes,
so
I know.
Can the Lupus substitute Primal Urge or not?
Well, no, this is a site-based check, so no.
Okay. It doesn't have
Okay. So Leah seems to be sort of standing underneath a tree with a low hanging branch. It has lots of little maple-like leaves that hang down. She's standing just enough that these are kind of setting upon her purple hair, so to speak, and she probably didn't think much of it when she walked underneath of it. For those of you that got one success, you notice that this really don't fit the rest of the leaf pattern. 3 or more successes of these red leaves that hang down are attached to a bit of wood that seems to have a glow, and oddly enough has a cloak around this glowing partition of wood. And slowly, as you start to take away from what notice that there is a certain individual some of you know, sort of resting on the tree.
Sorry, guys, I couldn't.
This picture is resting on a tree nearby.
Elias sees every werewolf except Xavier, I think, looking at the thing and going like, nope, and flinching.
Is this weirdness, because that's all I can see, the slight oddity. I'm just going to start leaning around.
Well, away, looking very kind of hanging down. Just
Zeke's going to look at Leah and kind of tip his head and say, "Ma'am, won't you
Guys,
say that Xavier just arrives at this moment.
this all kind of happened where Xavier was sitting. Like he was sitting there reading his tomes, and all of a sudden, nothing.
go over to where Zeke suggested she go.
And turn around, Leah. And once you step out from under it, this creature in a cloak drops down. Its arms and horns made of wood. It stands nearly 9 feet tall. One glowing eye glowing with a pale but calming blue single eye socket and carrying in one hand.
Visitor and slowly walks forward.
Bright
Okay.
eyes will be behind Kachina.
So, Katori may have just like everyone is like going. He's going forward. Hi. And he starts to sniff. He likes.
Little dancing spirits seem to mill about him, float about him, whispering all the way. Language, even with spirit speech, doesn't necessarily register. As it reaches down with one large hand and then just pats Katori on the head gently.
Smile, quite reverently. His tail is raised and his ears are they're not down, but they're not kind of neutral position, and his throat is slightly exposed.
Notice of this and acts as though it's been appeased slightly at this show as it picks its horn up to its mouth and makes just a very low, gentle humming melody. And those gifted with spirit speech can hear from it, or hear a voice that comes forth along the melody. Children of Mother Gaia, your plight has moved those of the glade, those that would probably find interest in. The ancient ones have remained in slumber. Perhaps now is the time for them to wake. Existing in this territory are trinkets that have gathered, bring immeasurable power with them that might aid in your endeavors. Should you bring all three to me, I might be able to provide some great measure of assistance in your plight against the storm.
What are those trinkets? What do they look like, or what is their purpose?
And the creature will look at the individuals, go from Antonio, to Smiles in the Night, to Katori, to Leah, to Xavier, to Bright Eyes, to Kachina, and then finally ending with Zeke. He pokes one of the little spirits on the head, and this little spirit floats up in the air. One, three, four. And lands on her shoulder. Find the first trinket, and I shall tell you of another. And finally, for those that can understand its speech, and as it seems to float up in the air and play a tune that has speech to it, it's out from the trees. And as it begins to sort of form into more of a mist, sort of into its own horn, for the horn sort of being almost as if it's being sucked through a small hole in the gauntlet to the Umbra itself. Spirit disappears from the Umbra or from the Gaian realm.
So Katina walks over to Leah in the middle of his chest.
She's like, so I didn't understand most of that. What?
Of the wild, where it is pure, has said that if we are to collect 3 trinkets and are able to do so, we will be able to get aid from as the guide for us, and this kind spirit that now resides on your shoulder will help aid you in guiding us to the first item.
I don't know how to use this.
I know that the Glade has rules to abide. Is, for example, bringing a goddamn Wither tech weapon is going to offend one there and not